Welcome to the Shootin' Show. Stand by for shots fired.
Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome again to this week's program. We're so glad to have you. I think you're going to find some things interesting and entertaining, whether you're a new shooter, that we're so glad to have every new shooter absolutely watching our program, or if you're an enthusiast who has a lot of experience with and around guns. You know, the Shootin' Show is all about showing the American public how we as normal American citizens safely and responsibly use and treat firearms. And friends, that's why it's so essential you can join our Shootin' Show Gun Club today and help us reach more and more people all over America, because you know what? It has to be done. Right now, our country, our republic, is probably in the most dangerous time frame since the Civil War. Now, we've had a lot of altercations with other countries, with other peoples around the world, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, recently Desert Storm. But you know, friends, right now we have an enemy within. We have the enemy in Washington, D.C., and some on the local and state levels around our country that literally want to change our way of life. They think that they know best. They think they're smarter than the rest of the American people, and they want to socialize America. Well, let me tell you what, we don't want their socialist, Nazi ideas imposed on us. You know, we have the book for sale here on the show, Gun Control, Gateway to Tyranny, where you can actually see where some of our current gun legislation or gun regulations have been taken from the Nazi rules and regulations from 1938. Friends, it's absolutely outrageous. We've got to do something about it today. You know, we cannot let these people in Washington, and you've heard me say this on the program before, if they were really concerned about the criminal, there would be some different things in the crime bill. Why take weapons away from us, the honest citizen, that have been available to us, some of them for nearly 100 years. It is absolutely outrageous. We cannot allow them to get away with it, and we're not going to do it. You know, we need that 5% of the general population. We need 12.5 million people who will stand up and say, enough is enough. We're not going to let you do any more. In fact, what we want to do is not only protect our country, our Constitution, our rights, we want to get some of them back, because some of our rights have literally been taken away, and friends, that is not going to fly, and I know that most of you out there watching will want to join us in our quest, literally, to help bring this country back into a line of normalcy and decency. Well, all that said, we have a great show for you. Let's start another Shootin' Show. Now, friends, a while back we had showed you our H&R Topper model in 12 gauge, and these are such neat guns. They're very inexpensive, they're very simple to operate, extremely reliable. One of the things that I like about it, and yes, notice my custom recoil pad here. Yeah, hey, it works. That's right, not fancy, but it works. Anyway, you have a little lever here beside the hammer, and you just push that lever down, and of course the gun will break open then, and it will eject the spent shell out of there. They're so very, very simple. They have a transfer bar type action, so if the trigger is forward, you can bang that hammer and the gun is still not going to go off accidentally, because the transfer bar is not between the hammer and the firing pin. A very important safety feature. And remember, you don't go down the trail or in the woods with your finger on the trigger of these guns. We never touch that trigger. We never put it in the finger guard unless we're ready to shoot the gun. Now, the only time we'll do that here on the show is if I'm demonstrating a dry fire technique or something like that. But then at that point we're demonstrating how the gun is fired. We never touch that trigger until we are ready to shoot the gun. Don't even put it inside the trigger guard. It's not necessary. So anyway, this is a very nicely made, inexpensive shotgun. And as we've talked before, the simpler and the less complicated sometimes really does have its virtue. Well, this has a 27.5-inch barrel, I believe. Well, today we're going to look at this gun's, how about Big Brother? Not bigger brother, but how about Big Brother? Friends, this is a model 176 H&R, very similar to our 12 gauge here, but this is a 10 gauge 3.5-inch Magnum shotgun. And you say, well, and take a look at the difference in the size of the two compared. One you can see from the picture, and also look at the difference in size from the 3.5-inch 10-gauge Magnum versus the 2 3/4-inch 12-gauge. There's a huge amount of difference. And you can see, one, the guns are quite a bit different in size. The 10-gauge here has a 36-inch barrel. And you know, you'd say, well, what in the world would you want a 10-gauge single shot for? Well, how about turkeys? In some parts of the country, turkey season either is open or will be shortly. And this is probably about as good a turkey gun where you're required to hunt with a shotgun, because a lot of hunters say on a turkey you're only going to get one good shot anyway. And believe me, this 36-inch barrel 10-gauge ought to reach out there with the best of them. Tell you what, with buckshot, and truthfully, I don't know if anybody is making a 10-gauge slug. I flatly don't know. Somebody may be. Somebody may offer them as a special loaded component. And I stand to be corrected. And if some of you viewers know about that, why don't you give me a call or write to me and tell me. Anyway, you talk about a massive amount of lead on a particular target. I would think these would be tremendous deer guns, just simply because you've got so much lead. And take a look at the difference in the two muzzles on these guns. You know, 12 gauge is certainly large, but the 10 is really in king size. With the modern ammunition we have, I would imagine that you could probably hunt turkeys or even extremely long-range geese, maybe high-flying geese. I would think 60, 70 yards probably. I've heard of people shooting them further than that, but that's a long way. I would think on a turkey certainly 40 or 50 yards. And you know, what we try and do on a turkey is you have to hit the head. A body shot on a turkey is not going to, unless you're extremely close, and if you're 10 feet away, well, you're going to blow the bird into 1,000 pieces with one of these. But a body shot at the longer ranges is not going to reliably kill the turkey, so you have to shoot for the head. Well, we're going to take a shot at 40 yards with this gun in just a few minutes and take a look and see how it does. What we have today, we have some number 4. It says, yeah, 3.5-inch nitro magnums. Yes. Well, to give you an idea of how this thing kicks or recoil, and they do come, in fact, it has sort of a Monte Carlo stock here, a very nicely figured stock. This gun, the good folks at Britain's loaned us this, and they have it retailing for about $150. It's not a new gun, but it is in excellent condition. Well, let's take a little comparison here for a moment. Since we have baby brother here, let's go ahead and shoot our 12 gauge and realize this 12 gauge is a fairly light gun. It's since you don't have all the extra action parts from say you'd have on a pump shotgun or a semi-automatic, it's fairly light, and of course it handles so nicely. Well, let's take a look in recoil. We're going to use my shoulder as the guinea pig here. At this 12 gauge, we're shooting a extremely heavy 12 gauge load, double-aught buckshot. So let's take a look at recoil in my hands anyway. Yep. In a light gun, yeah, you know that. See how it ejects the empty shell there? You definitely know it went off. Well, let's step up to the plate with our old 10 here. Yeah, you start putting that cartridge case in, it goes in and in and in. All right. These guns, it shouldn't be that bad. I say that now before I've shot the gun, because the barrel is very large. It's a large diameter and it is heavy, and I'm sure you'll need it. So, and let me remind you, friends, when you get a gun like this, if you're going to be shooting at the longer ranges, such as a turkey gun, like you would at a turkey, you need to go out to the range and pattern the gun. Go ahead and pattern it at 35, 40, 45, 50 yards and see where it's going to hit. See where the concentration of your shot, of your pellets are going to be. Because, you know, you owe it to yourself as well as to the game animal to hunt as responsibly and effectively as possible. You don't want to leave a wounded animal in the field, certainly not. And if you're going to take the time and spend the money on the hunting gear and your guns and your equipment and transportation, well, you owe it to yourself to know what your firearm's going to do. Anyway, let's take a look at The old 10 gauge here in action. All right. Yeah. You notice any difference? Yeah, it's, I don't think you'd want to shoot this thing all day, but heck, from recoil alone, it'd take you a couple of seconds to get back on the target. I understand the Remington 10 gauge semi-automatic is not that terribly punishing a gun, but like I said, you wouldn't want to shoot this H&R all day. Well, let's take a look at it on our target out at 40 yards.
Now, friends, we are extremely pleased to be working with one of the finest magazines that you can find in the United States today, and it's called The New American. And the April 4 issue, which you see on your screen, covers issues like Toward a Police State, using a national epidemic of crime and violence as a justification, media pundits and collectivist politicians are aggressively campaigning to disarm private citizens and strengthen federal law enforcement powers. Yes, friends, this is our type of magazine, mostly because it's true. Now, these people at the New American Magazine are making a special offer available to the Shootin' Show audience for $22 for a 6-month subscription, including the April 4 issue here, which deals with gun control and the things that go on with the politicians in Washington on how they're literally trying to disarm the United States population. Now, trust me on this one. If you're a gun owner, you need to get this issue of the New American. And friends, this magazine comes twice a month. This is really a bargain. They cover all sorts of subjects, such as the Somalian quagmire, as you can see. And how about national service, if you really want the true picture of what this national service is all about. How about the conservative index for the 103rd Congress, subjects like terror in Haiti, the real Aristide. How about Bill Clinton and a question of character, which is most important to most of us, certainly as conservative Americans. And here's a tremendous article on the New World Army. Now, friends, this is one of the finest publications that I think you could find in print anywhere today. It is really a bargain. $22 for 6 months of the New American Magazine. And remember, this is 13 issues, including this powerful gun control issue. And friends, I don't think you'll be disappointed. This, in fact, if you want to be informed about what's going on in the United States and all sorts of issues that are so important to every last one of us who are really patriotic citizens, you need to start getting the New American. Now, to get it, you can call them at 1-800-727-TRUE. And those numbers are 8783, 1-800-727-8783, and be sure and tell them that you saw it here on the Shootin' Show. It is such an important publication for our time, friends, and to really be informed, if you want to know the truth about what's going on in this country and around the world, again, you need the New American. 1-800-727-TRUE 8783, the New American. The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Friends, what we have is how about, I'm not going to say a reasonable facsimile, but I'll say a facsimile of a turkey here. And this would probably be your average size for certainly the wild turkeys you're going to find in this part of the country, maybe some others too. But remember, we're not that concerned about the body hits. What we want to do is we want to have some hits in that head, because that's what is going to make the turkey cease and desist right away. And these are such terrific game animals. As we said earlier, we just don't want to lose one. We want to definitely be effective in this particular head and neck area. So let's go ahead and put the target out here and see what it does at 40 yards. Trust me. 10 gauge, that's about all the shotgun I want. Friends, we have our target here, and yes, I definitely, in fact, you could probably shoot turkeys even further than this. Let's take a close look at our target here. We can see, looking on the neck, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 21. 21 or so holes here in the head and neck area, and of course that's a number 4 size pellet. So I believe that's going to be plenty. Of course, you worked on the body pretty well, but at the extended ranges with the very poor ballistics of the round pellet anyway, but of course they're certainly, I wouldn't want to get shot with them out there or anywhere else, but the thing is, you're going to have more than enough pellets to reliably kill the turkey and keep from wasting or losing a fine game animal. So, you know, I tell you what, if you're looking for a, shall we say, super powerful shotgun, well, the good news is these H&R single shots are relatively inexpensive. I think some of the semi-automatic 10 gauges are running about $1,000 or so, and when you can get in it for a couple of $100, I really don't know what they cost new. I'm going to assume that they're $200 or less. I don't know for sure. This one is being sold now. Britain's had $150 marked on this one, and it's really a nice example of what it is. Again, it's not going to be something that you're going to go out and shoot skeet with or shoot a lot all day or at one sitting, but for what it is, I tell you what, it's not too bad a concept. How about the H&R Harrington Richardson model 176 10 gauge?
You know, friends, all of us as shooting enthusiasts should be subscribing to Shotgun News, the trading post for anything that shoots. 3 big issues monthly with literally thousands and thousands of firearms bargains. Shotgun News, Post Office Box 669, Hastings, Nebraska. That zip code 68902. Their phone number, area 402-463-4589. For MasterCard or Visa for subscriptions only, call them at 1-800-345-6923.
Hi, I'm Bill McIntyre with another update from Capitol Hill here at the new NRA headquarters just outside Washington, D.C. About a month after signing the Brady Bill into law, President Clinton went hunting on Maryland's eastern shore. He joined Congressman John Dingell and Bill Brewster. The president used a borrowed Benelli M1 Super 90 field auto shotgun. Is the president a true friend of hunters? Don't bet on it. Dressing up in camouflage, borrowing a shotgun, and sitting in a duck blind for a couple of hours can hardly atone for routine attacks on gun owners. Some may think Clinton's duck hunting trip was a goodwill gesture and an endorsement of their beloved sport. Don't be fooled. The Wall Street Journal was right and quick to raise a red flag, warning hunters in particular that a couple of cosmetic changes to the president's borrowed Benelli could have put that gun on a federally proposed gun ban. Is the president hunting just ducks, or does he have more gun control in mind? The Clinton administration is considering or supports outright gun bans, waiting periods, centralized federal licensing, and gun dealer fee increases. The message is clear. Whether you're a hunter or not, Clinton-like gun control will affect your gun one way or another. I'll be back next week with another update from Capitol Hill.
To join the NRA, call now 1-800-321-7500, 1-800-321-7500.
This presentation has been produced using weapons and memorabilia from the Guns of Famous Shooters collection of Colonel Rex Applegate. There was a period in our history before the advent of freeways, excessive urbanization, multiple sporting events, TV, and video, when live performances such as Wild West shows, vaudeville, minstrel shows, and baseball entertained the public. This was also the era of the professional exhibition shooter. By means of this early film footage, you'll once again be able to enjoy what once was a great spectator shooting sport. This is fast and fancy shooting at its very best. Ever since men have aimed projectiles at targets, people have appreciated and have been entertained by shooting skills. After all, the biblical David, Robin Hood, and William Tell were extraordinary marksmen. We Americans have our own folk hero sharpshooters, such as Daniel Boone, Davy Crockett, and Kit Carson. The times of the great exhibition shooters are past. These spectacular demonstrations of fast and fancy shooting, duplicating under controlled conditions the feats of real and imaginary lawmen, hunters, and frontier gunmen, have now almost entirely disappeared. Exhibition shooting is distinctly American in origin and began with the early Wild West shows. This type of shooting entertainment utilized a variety of guns, ammunition, and targets to captivate the audience. The first nationally and internationally famous exhibition shooters were employed by William F. Cody, who is better known as Buffalo Bill. The legendary Annie Oakley was a longtime star of his traveling Wild West show. About 1900, the major arms and ammunition companies began to employ professional exhibition shooters to promote the sale of guns, ammunition, traps, targets, and other related merchandise. By means of great showmanship and shooting skills, these individuals not only entertained, but built up a great deal of goodwill for the shooting sports, while at the same time promoting their sponsors' products. Unfortunately, since World War II, the professional exhibition shooter has been replaced by more modern and sophisticated sales and merchandising techniques. During the period of the professional exhibition shooters, who mostly used rifles and shotguns, several legendary handgun shooters also appeared on the scene. These men, using the revolver, gave shooting performances and performed feats that will probably remain unduplicated in future generations. We'll look at the talents left behind by Ad Topperwine, Gus Parrott, Bill Jordan, Ed McGivern, Herb Parsons, and others.
Bill Jordan is a former Assistant Chief Inspector of the U.S. Border Patrol and is known throughout the world for his speed and skill with a revolver. Today, Bill has a message for you.
Well, hello there. I'm Bill Jordan, and I'm going to try to show you a little different kind of shooting today. The kind of shooting maybe that a law enforcement officer would have to use. I know you're all familiar with the basic fundamentals of shooting. If you wasn't knowledgeable, you wouldn't be interested in seeing this film. And I'm going to be talking about the handgun. This is a symbol and tool of a law enforcement officer's trade. He wouldn't necessarily pick this. A handgun is it's a pretty poor weapon. It lacks firepower. It's difficult to shoot well. Certainly, if an officer knew he was going to get into trouble, he'd take a shotgun. There's the world's greatest tranquilizer. But since he wouldn't have a shotgun most of the time, affrays between officers and criminals occur under conditions of surprise, close range, poor light. This has got two things going for it, availability and portability. This is what he would have with him if he got into trouble. So getting down to the basic fundamentals of it, it's just like any other firearm, sight alignment and trigger squeeze. You start with deliberate, aimed, single action fire. Now by single action, of course, I mean that the weapon is cocked. It only requires about 2 pounds of pressure on that trigger to fire it. You extend it, line up your sights, squeeze on the trigger very carefully. Then when the hammer falls, you should be right in the middle. Now this is the way we teach someone to shoot. This is the way a law enforcement officer would like to shoot if he gets into trouble. But instead of that, since he is generally in a hurry, what he does is grab himself a handful of gun and stick it out there and shoot it double action trying to do before he's done undo. A double action, of course, you do it all by pulling the trigger. You cock the gun, turn the cylinder. It takes 15 or 20 pounds of weight, pull, pressure on that, your finger move. It's an inaccurate way to shoot. Also, of course, this hip shooting, point shooting, instinct shooting, whatever you want to call it, this is also inaccurate. But I'm going to try to demonstrate that to you, and I got to tell you before I start that you see better every Saturday night on television. You're going to see me do. Those boys don't ever miss, and I do. However, I'm going to use wax bullets so there won't be any danger. These are just little pieces of paraffin, such as your mother, your grandmother used to put on top of jelly, and when she put up jelly. Just with the primer, no powder. Well, you know, these television boys generally don't actually shoot anybody. They shoot the gun out of the villain's hand. I guess that's all right for them because they don't ever miss, because if somebody was pointing a gun at you, well, you'd be subject to thinking that he intended to use it on you. I'm going to try, though, to shoot an object about the size of a gun in a man's hand with this hip shooter. That's about the size of a gun in a man's hand. As a matter of fact, that's about the size of a barrel of a .38 Special in a man's hand. You better believe it. I'm going to put on these glasses for this, because I just wear these if I want to look at something. I'll stick this down here and take a try at it. Actually, of course, this is made for shooting at large people-sized objects, but I will try it. Well, I better reload now because I got a target coming up. It's a little difficult, but it's one that I got a lot of confidence in. I know I can hit it. It's a Necco wafer. One of these little pieces of candy that called a Necco. If I don't hit it, I'll eat it. I may find out what that tastes like. Oh boy. I'm going to eat one of them one of these days anyhow. I've been wondering what they taste like. Well, here's one that does give me a little trouble. That's a lifesaver, and sometimes I shoot right through the hole on that one. I just most likely hit the hole this shot. There you are, right through the hole. Well, let's see if I can hit the edge of it now. Yeah, well, about all that's left is the hole. Now, that's really not an aspirin. That's one of them little ones, the big ones. It's got buffering added. I'll put it up there and shoot at it, though. I like to shoot at them because you'd be surprised how many people, instead of saying that I shot at an aspirin, they'll tell about how I shot an aspirin tablet, shooting from the hip double action. Well, let's try it. A little worried about that shot. You know, I missed one of them once. It was in the fall of 1938. I remember it real well.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Some 200 years ago, our founding fathers wrote a document that's been famed all over the world since, known as the Declaration of Independence. They fought their war of rebellion and won it. And after they won it, they wrote the Constitution of the United States. And just to be sure that no one could misunderstand what they meant by basic inalienable rights that they mentioned in this Declaration of Independence, they put them down as the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. This is what we know as the Bill of Rights. Now here is where we get all of the rights that make the difference between a man and an animal. We have the right of free speech, of free press, trial by jury, peaceful assembly, all of these. And the second of these, I'll quote for you. A well-ordered militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now this is a right that we're talking about. This is not a privilege. This is something guaranteed to us by men who fought and died so that we would have these rights, that we would be able to raise our children with these rights. Some of them we are in danger of losing. Maybe they're just being weaseled away from us. Maybe they're being bought away from us. Certainly, we can't allow any of them to be legislated away from us. Each one of these rights has the same importance. Where they came in the Bill of Rights, first, second article, third article, this doesn't make any difference. They're all equally important. Certainly, the fact that the right to keep and bear arms is mentioned as the second of these articles doesn't mean that it's more important or less important. They all stand on the same legislative bottom. And if one can be lost, this knocks a great big hole in the whole thing, and they can all go down the drain. They have the same authority. Now, this right to keep and bear arms is probably the most important of all the rights. Without it, we would have no way of defending the others. It is a right. Certainly, it's a right that shouldn't be abused. Any abuse should be punished quickly, surely, and severely. But just remember this. This right to keep and bear arms not only is your right to defend your person, your right to defend your country, but much more than that. It gives to you and your children the right to enjoy the shooting sports. Whether your children enjoy them as you did is going to be up to you. Let's don't lose any of these rights. Let's keep them all.
Now, friends, Bill Jordan's message, this tape was originally made of his film footage here, was done back in the 60s, but his message is so pertinent today, absolutely. We've seen a brief excerpt of the Fast and Fancy Shooters tape put together by Colonel Rex Applegate, certainly a great friend of this program and a terrific person in general. A number of things on this tape that we did not get to today. You have exhibition shooting by the Remington Arms exhibition shooters right after World War II. You have some original footage of Ed McGivern, Herb Parsons, and a number of other features on this particular tape. You can have this 75-minute entire video by writing to Wells Creek Knife and Gun Works, and that address is 32956 State Highway 38 in Scottsburg, Oregon. The zip is 97473. Now, this tape is also available through mail order video. And let me give you their 800 number. It's 1-800-942-8273, 1-800-942-8273, the Fast and Fancy Shooters tape, a terrific tape for anyone who has interest in historical shooting, and we need to know what our heritage is. So a lot of you would like to have this one. You know, we were just watching Bill Jordan a moment ago on Rex Applegate's fantastic tape, Fast and Fancy Shooters, and that particular piece of footage was actually shot back in the 1960s, and it's amazing. Bill Jordan is one of those ageless people. I saw him a couple of months ago, and the man is, my goodness, he must be in his early 80s now, and he's tall, he's erect, and he's alert, and I tell you what, don't fool with him today. A really most unusual and an admirable person. Well, friends, here we are. We have our Brady Bill special, and incidentally, we have the Choate folding stock available through our Bullet Express, and these retail for the Mossberg 500, also the Remington 870, for about $88. So certainly if you are a gun club member, you can get your discount certainly on this as well as the other things in the Bullet Express. Well, friends, here we are, and we have our book, Gun Control Gateway to Tyranny, for $19.95. You can get this from us, and you can actually see where this legislation we've been talking about, a lot of our current gun legislation was actually taken from the Nazi plan back in the 1930s. Friends, it is outrageous that this could be happening. These pump shotguns have been around since before 1900. This Colt 1911 has been around since, in fact, in this version, since 1911. And these people suddenly want to take away our constitutional rights. You know, in some places, they're talking about now doing neighborhood sweeps and going in homes and sweeping, searching for weapons, going in houses. I understand in other places in the country I heard of a knock and search arrangement where a policeman shows up at your door and wants to come in your home and search for weapons and drugs or anything else. And if he doesn't have a warrant, you tell him no, well, you're suddenly under investigation. Now, friends, this has got to stop. We're losing our rights. Heck, we're losing our country. We've got to do something about it. We cannot allow these Nazi socialist types in Washington, some of these people on local levels, we cannot let them get away with it. And that's why this program is so important. We've got to reach more and more people. And here through the Shootin' Show, you can darn sure help us do it by joining our Shootin' Show Gun Club. You know, we understand now that this vote in the House on the crime bill, which has such outrageous provisions in it, is about 15 or 20 votes short of passing. What you need to do, you need to call or write. In fact, you probably don't have time to write. You need to call your U.S. representative and tell them how you feel. Tell them do not support the president's crime bill until some things are taken out of it. Things to do with guns, with taking away the semi-automatic guns, many of which have been around all of these years. See, the gun is not the problem. What's happened, we've had a moral breakdown in our society. The breakdown of the family. You have all these children out there with no fathers who literally are thrown out on the streets. And you know what? When you have an animal that you put out of your yard and literally throw them in the street, you don't give them any discipline, you don't give them any direction, you have a wild animal. And in fact, that's the problem we have here today. And who's most responsible for that? How about your ultra-liberal types who we're going to save the rest of the world and nobody's at fault, nobody's responsible for anything they do? It's not true. And these people have got to be stopped. They have socialized us down to the point that we're not sure what to believe in anymore. And something has got to be done. Well, that's one of the things we're doing on this program. You know, I never believed that we would need something like this storage vault. And, you know, people are buying them for all kinds of reasons, to store things around campsites, for ammunition, put away at a hunting camp or something like that, or food, whatever. But you know, friends, some people are buying these. We're afraid that the government is going to come around and confiscate our weapons. And you know, if you would be interested in one of these storage vaults, just call us on our 800 number, and we'll pass that you do have a question along to the manufacturer. He'll get in touch with you, find out what you want, give you prices. They make these in a number of different sizes. It's ridiculous that something like this is required. Something has got to be done, friends, and through our program, we can reach more people in a week's time, certainly more new shooters, more people who are on the fence, who don't know much about these guns, but we need to tell them how it really is and how the average citizen who owns these guns, they're not crazies. We don't need more restriction. We need something done about the criminal element and the policies in Washington. You know, friends, we don't need more regulation. What we need is some of our rights back that our forefathers have fought so hard to get us in the first place. You know, if your politician, if your representative or senator voted the right way on the Brady bill, it'd be a good thing to let them know that you appreciate how they voted.
You know, right now, a number of sheriff's offices around the country are trying to get an injunction against the Brady Bill because the government, they passed the law, but they didn't make any provisions for how the local law enforcement agencies were going to pay for these background searches. So, friends, it is absolutely outrageous, and we have got to do something. You know, the only type of gun control that I'm willing to settle for is the better ability to hit your target. And incidentally, we did have a lot of interest from last week's program on our Shoot and Show special package for the 1911, the 8-round Chip McCormick black stainless steel magazine, along with the Wilson's extended beaver tail grip safety, the drop-in model, the Chip McCormick hammer and sear, and also the Hart's recoil reducer. And we're making a total package now of $189 for the entire package, which will really turn your 1911 into a very nice regional competition or club competition, certainly a limited competition type gun, and certainly much more shootable. Friends, if you can, please join the Shoot and Show Gun Club today. $25 annual membership fee. You get your Bullet Express discounts. We'll send you a copy of the Bullet Express and our bylaws, certainly. We need to reach as many people as possible because that's how we're going to do it, strength in numbers. You know, it is so important that we just tell the American people the truth. Historically speaking, if the American people were only given the truth, they knew how to make the right decision. That's what we've got to do.
I'd like to welcome you here to Gunsight. The training that you'll get here will perhaps be some of the most meaningful training that you'll ever get.
Good job. Okay, down the guard, finger straight, looking good. Pick it up. Move out. Next shooter, step on up. Ease across. Side press. Shoot.
Now, friends, talk about a trip of a lifetime out to Paulden, Arizona to the Gunsight Training Center for information on their catalog. They have a gunsmithy there. They can tell you about what their courses are going to be, when they're going to be, and it is absolutely one of the prettiest spots in the United States. For information about Gunsight, call us at 1-800-895-7916, Department Gunsight, and we'll get an information package right out to you. Trust me on this one. This will be one of the nicest trips and possibly one of the best spent weeks that you'll ever spend. They do take MasterCard and Visa, some other credit cards. They're some of the finest people that we've met in the entire industry. And friends, let's get after this today.
The Shoot and Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Well, friends, another handgun we're going to look at today, or a handgun anyway, is this Czech Model 52. And this is a new gun to me. Personally, I have not examined or shot many others of this particular type than this one. We got a couple in for testing. And it is an interesting handgun. The Model 52 was originally chambered in 7.62 Tokarev. Now, I believe that's what is called a 7.6225, which is a long, essentially 30 caliber pistol cartridge with some pretty hot ballistics. Well, this particular gun and a number of others coming into the country have been rechambered for the standard old 9mm Luger, or 9x19. So I would like to try some of the 7.62 Tokarev and see how they performed. I've heard some interesting comments about that cartridge. But one, I'm surprised that this combination works as well as it does. You have a magazine, as you can see from the picture here, that has windows in the side. It holds 8 in the magazine, 1 in the chamber, for a total of 9. It is strictly a military type pistol. It is pretty much no frills. And in fact, let's take a closer look at it and let you see how it works. Now, friends, you can see it is a fairly comparable size to our government model Colt. I say comparable. It has about a 5-inch or so barrel there. It has, of course, a rather small ejection port, but it does work. I do want to caution you, this gun has only functioned 100% with the full metal jacket military type ammunition. We have not been able to get it to function reliably with the various hollow point other types of ammunition. But with the full metal jacket, it has been reliable. Well, you can see how it works. It is a single action design, which we know it's empty. And of course, here is your hammer here, and here is your safety. And when the safety is up, the hammer, nothing works, certainly until that safety is released. And it does not have a magazine safety. It does have a firing pin lock, which is connected to the trigger. And even if the hammer falls, if the trigger is not pulled to the rear here, the firing pin will not move. That is an interesting design. It is a roller locked type design. Let's go ahead and cock it. And here's how you take it down. You have this little piece here. Just pull them down like so, and you'll slide forward and up. And then, of course, the gun is in two pieces. And I said roller locked earlier. You can see the little rollers here. It doesn't work exactly like a Colt. The rollers keep the barrel and slide locked together for a short period of time until that pressure drops. And then the slide will continue rearward, ejecting the spent case and hopefully reloading another cartridge from the magazine. It is an interesting design. You'll see the spring here is around the barrel itself. So something that is a little different. Now then, friends, put the gun back together. We'll just put the slide back on the frame, press down, and pull to the rear. And sure enough, it is back together. Now, friends, let's go ahead and shoot the gun. You can see the windows in the magazine here, which is convenient to see how many cartridges you have left. We'll put the magazine in the base. Of course, the magazine catch here is on the bottom of the grip there, or the frame right in the magazine well. Of course, to take the magazine out, you just pull that catch to the rear and pull it out. So, let's take a shot with it. Pull that slide all the way to the rear and let it go. Now, we do have some very, shall we say, rudimentary sights here. Now, safety is off. Line up our front sight on that steel plate and all right. And some splash from one target there knocked the other one down. So, and we'll apply our safety, certainly.
Well, friends, here it is, the famous Thunder 5, the 410/45 Colt revolver, a 5-shot revolver, even incorporating a manual safety. Now, for information on the Thunder 5, you can call 1-800-654-0797. These are most unique handguns, probably the ultimate snake gun or small varmint gun at close ranges, one of the greatest campsite guns I could ever imagine, certainly excellent for home defense in the proper context. You know, they also have the gun available in .45-70. It also has some different caliber inserts that are available now for these Thunder 5 guns. Again, Thunder 5 information, 1-800-654-0797. And you know, friends, if you're interested in the very best ammunition that money can buy, well, what you need to do is call Corbin Bullet Company at 1-800-626-7266 and find out where you can buy their ammunition in your area. And all sorts of calibers, from handgun to rifle, even some obsolete calibers that are very, very difficult to find. From self-defense loads to hunting ammunition, all sorts of things, Corbin has it. And friends, you can give them a call, again, 1-800-626-7266. Find out where you can get it in your area, because, you know, Corbin is, in fact, the best there is.
You know, friends, one of the things that I was noticing earlier, you have to be sure and keep your thumb down on your grip there, especially if you're right-handed, because I had the safety, my thumb and the back of my hand under recoil would inadvertently put that safety on. The safety is off when it's down, so that's something to watch for when you're shooting these guns. As we were talking earlier, it is very comparable in size to our 45 ACP Colt. These guns come with a spare magazine, a cleaning tool there, and a nice flap holster. Apparently that's what they used in Eastern Europe, where these guns were, well, Czechoslovakia, that's where they're from. So it is something that a lot of us might want to add to our collection. They're not that terribly expensive. Certainly for a service type 9mm handgun, they're not expensive at all. I suppose they could be classed as military surplus. We shot the gun earlier from a bench, and the military rounds went into 5 rounds for about 3.5 inches at 25 yards, and the sights were fairly well regulated there. We just couldn't get other ammunition types to feed. I would be very concerned about whether I would use this gun as a home defense type gun, simply because if you're using the full metal jacket ammunition, you're going to have the tremendous penetration with not a lot of damage on an animal or a target, something you had to shoot. You have mostly penetration. It's going to zip right through walls and other things, and it might hurt someone in another part of your home or in another place, someone else's house that lived next door, whatever. But one thing you might try, you might single load or hand load one of the very fine Corbon 9mm jacketed hollow points, so you would at least have one very effective load or bullet that would hit your target. I would not depend on a magazine full of the better bullet profiles which are out there for our American type guns, and certainly the guns that we're used to seeing. But as far as feeding and function with the standard military type cartridge, it's been fine. We did load some another brand of ammunition, Federal Nyclads, with a profile very much like the military silhouette there on the bullet, and some of them fed, some of them didn't. But it is an interesting piece of equipment. It has a little recoil, but it's not terribly objectionable. Now, friends, I don't know if I would carry this gun loaded or not. You certainly could. You can carry it cocked with the safety locked on. You could carry it hammered down, and we know this gun's unloaded. Yes. You could carry it hammered down with safety on. You could carry it hammered down, safety off, chamber empty. Probably, if I were going to carry this gun, I think I would probably go with chamber empty, because I'm just not that familiar with all the internal strength and weaknesses of this particular design. It is an interesting design, and again, with the full metal jacket hardball type ammunition, it has been reliable. Load it there. Check model 52.
Hi, I'm Bob Brown, Vietnam veteran and publisher of Soldier of Fortune magazine, described by some as the most politically incorrect magazine in the United States. Every issue we publish in-depth, provocative articles by our investigative reporters on the efforts of gun-grabbing politicians and the BATF to undermine our Second Amendment rights, and what you can do to stop them. Also on-site coverage of the government's abuse of power as occurred in the Randy Weaver tragedy and the Waco fiasco. No puff, no fluff, in-depth technical reviews of new firearms and ammo. In short, hard-hitting action articles of immediate interest to all real Americans, available from no other mainstream media. You need the other side of the story. That's why I'm offering a 1-year subscription to Soldier of Fortune for only $22. That's over a 50% saving. Also, we're going to throw in a free 67-page bonus coverage of all our Waco material that's appeared in Soldier of Fortune and how it affects you. Call our 1-800 number now.
And that number is 1-800-877-5207. Again, 1-800-877-5207 for subscription information for Soldier Fortune magazine. A year subscription, $22 plus the great Waco supplement. Friends, a terrific bargain for a terrific magazine.
You know, I've been talking to that gobbler all morning, but I guess that's one turkey I just can't fool. Hi, I'm Grits Gresham, and believe me, turkey hunting is a real challenge. It takes patience, skill, and the right equipment. So see the folks who will steer you right on the firearms and other hunting gear you'll need this season. Don't you be fooled. For your equipment needs, see the real pro in your community.
You know, friends, those of us that are enthusiasts really do enjoy our 1911 Colts, our revolvers, whether they be from Smith & Wesson or Ruger or whoever, the other fine semi-automatics out there. We enjoy these long guns, and you know, here we have a regular old Mossberg 500 shotgun with some add-ons. We have a pistol grip in our folding stock, and there are those in Congress that would call this an assault gun. Well, that's the most ridiculous thing. What we have is assault people, not necessarily assault guns, which you and I, the average citizen, can't buy an assault gun anyway. An assault gun, by definition, is selective fire. They fire full auto and semi, which the AR-15s that the military uses or M16s, those are real assault guns. The Colt Sporters and 223 that we have and shoot, they're not assault guns because they're semi-automatic. There is a huge difference. Yet there are those in Congress who will lie to you. Heck, I don't think these people understand what's even going on. I don't think they understand the problem. And those that do understand don't care, because they know that the only way they can get control of us, the American population, is to take these guns away. Now, they know that, and that's what they're working toward. You can join our Shoot and Show Gun Club and help all of us, help yourselves, help us reach more and more people. We're working on our fun gun schedule. We really have some neat things coming up. We're supposed to go to the Wesson Firearms Factory in Massachusetts later on in May. That's really going to be exciting. And we hope that Kurt has some African footage for us from a hunt. If the political climate holds up well enough in South Africa, we certainly hope so. Well, friends, we hope that you've really enjoyed this week's program. Kurt and I do work so hard on this show. We're glad to have each and every one of you with us. So please, hang in there with the Shoot and Show. Join the Shoot and Show Gun Club if you can. And let's stop these lunatics in Washington. Well, we've run out of time again, friends. Thank you so much for being with us for this edition of the Shoot and Show. And hey, we'll look forward to seeing you next time on the next Shoot and Show.